In the wake of releasing my soft war thesis breakdown video, I had some questions that were asked. I've got 4 listed here, and I'm going to go through all 4 of them and help you further understand exactly what's being talked about. Question number 1 is, if encryption is strong enough to protect Bitcoin, why isn't it strong enough for communication networks? Question number 2 pertains to that impenetrable power wall with the Bitcoin gate that I talked about. And the question is, can the impenetrable power wall with gate be used in an oppressive way? Question number 3 is, when will individuals see this as a necessity? Question number 4 is, how do I see micropayments changing from what we see today? Subscription boxes filled with a bunch of trash and 99% of Netflix being junk. Starting with question number 1. If encryption is strong enough to protect Bitcoin, why isn't it strong enough for communication networks? The simple answer is, it very well might be. But we already have a protocol layer built on some of the strongest encryption that we know about. And that encryption layer is built using ASICs. If you've ever built a fence or seen one built, you know that the posts that are stuck into the ground usually sit in a lump of cement. You dig a hole, you pour a bag of cement in there, you mix it up with water, you stick your post in there. There you go, you got a fence post. If you think about the power wall of Bitcoin, you could think of those anchors, those cement blocks, being the ASICs. ASICs are some of the most computationally powerful machines there are in existence. I might get this number wrong, but I believe Michael Saylor said that the ASICs, a standard ASIC, an S9, is 2,600 times more powerful than the computers that AWS, Amazon Web Services, are running on. He said, if you want to attack something, you're going to attack Amazon Web Services way before you attack Bitcoin because it's 2,000 odd times cheaper to do so. If you're trying to break into an ASIC and crack that encryption, it's going to cost you way, 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 way more. And if you have multiple ASICs protecting the same thing, like the thousands, if not hundreds or millions of them spread around the world, well, the cost to attack that network is exponentially higher. So the answer to question number 1 is, you would just strap your communication network to the Bitcoin protocol layer. It is a base layer, a new way of doing things that you can protect whatever it is that you want. Question number 2. Can the impenetrable power wall with gate be used in an oppressive way? Honestly, the sad reality is yes. Yes, I believe it could. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time breaking down the various ways that this could be done because I really don't want to spread the ideas to the greater ether that is the existence. But one way that comes to mind is with secrets, government secrets, things like the WikiLeaks released. Those things, if they were strapped to the blockchain, would no longer be accessible. They wouldn't be released. It is possible that you would still have whistleblowers to expose these things, but I imagine that state secrets would be much, much harder. And under a certain light, that's good. You want certain state secrets, like nuclear codes and certain other things, to be kept under wraps. But then there are other things that should be exposed. And if white hat hackers lack the ability to extract those secrets, then it could mean that certain things never come to light. I'm sure there are many other ways, but like I said, I don't want to really spend too much time on this because the long and short of the answer is yes, and I don't want to give people ideas. Question number 3. When will individuals see this as a necessity? So we're clear, this, in that sentence, is the use of Bitcoin as a protection strategy. I was recently watching a podcast that was dealing with an extremely dark subject, and walking away from that podcast, I thought, I think Bitcoin fixes this. The subject had to do with the exploitation of children. And something that all parents worry about is their children being exposed to things that they don't want them exposed to. All sorts of things that the parents just go, you know what, that's not for my son or daughter. And I was thinking that Bitcoin could fix this. If you gave your child a cell phone, and their identity was connected to a private key, then you can make sure that the only people contacting your child were other people that you had verified. So let's say they've met a friend, and you know that little Timmy is talking to your son, little Bobby. And you know this because you've met little Timmy. You've gone to his parents' house, you've shaken their hand, you've had dinner, and you know that little Timmy's private key is him because you've seen it, and it's been verified and you're connected up, and so you know that all the messages coming from Timmy are actually Timmy. Yes, there could be a situation where little Timmy's phone is stolen, but then his parents would let you know and you go, okay, well, all those messages coming from that aren't Timmy anymore. And we know that. We know that for certain now. The security and safety of our children is one of the highest priority things for all of humanity. And I think that if people learn that there's a way to use Bitcoin to protect their children, that'll be a huge wake-up call for them. Now, if you're 80 years old, you don't want spammers and weird hackers and strange people trying to bamboozle you out of your funds, and so Bitcoin could also protect them in the same way that it protects a child. You know that these messages coming to your father, your grandmother, whoever, is from a verified source, and it's not somebody trying to bamboozle them because they're some prince of another nation. The long and short of this answer is, everybody's necessity will depend on the unique individual. And so what is true of this person over here might not be true of that person over there. This person might want to protect their children. This person over here might want to protect grandma and grandpa. This person over here might want to just protect their own wealth. So the necessity will come from individual use cases. The fourth and final question is, how do I, Del the Hodl Sapien, see micropayments changing from what we see today? Subscription boxes filled with a bunch of trash and 99% of Netflix being junk, and honestly so much of the media that we consume and anything that we interact with being a bunch of garbage. On this note, I saw somebody tweet that they know somebody with a YouTube channel with something like 2 million subscribers. This YouTuber was going to run a tournament, and the YouTuber asked the tweeter if they should give out prizes in Bitcoin. And if they should, and if that was a good idea, is that possible? Could they do that? And below, all sorts of commenters were saying, yes, you should absolutely do that. They should give out the prizes in Bitcoin. And here's different solutions. I saw different companies saying, we'll help you set this up. This is totally a great idea. I love the idea of artists of all sorts being able to sell their content, value for sats, and knowing instantaneously that they have their funds. My sister-in-law has a shop that she runs on Etsy. She sells little stickers of animals and little flowers, and I mean, it's completely the most benign, simple, cute stuff imaginable. There is nothing political, there is nothing offensive about these stickers whatsoever. And Etsy, for whatever reason, has decided to hold her funds because they can. And she just has to not have that money that she otherwise would have. Well, Bitcoin solves this. If somebody wants to buy something from somebody else, they send it via Lightning or on-chain if they really want to, and you know that you have that, and it's instant. Nobody is in the middle. Nobody's saying, hang on, we got to hold on to that for you for a moment. You have it. It is yours, and you can do whatever you want with it. Once that payment is verified, then the seller of that song, that art, that comic, that video, whatever it is, can ship that product out. If you've been in the Bitcoin space for a while, then you know what fiat currency does. The entirety of civilization isn't producing 1,000 times more stuff this year than they were 6 months ago, or vice versa. But what we do have is an increase in the money chasing those same amount of goods. And so we have goods that are trying to get that money. This is why you see so many things being produced as cheap as they possibly can. One of the wild things about a deflationary money is that it increases creativity. More people will delve into the depths of their creativity to try and find ways to get a piece of that deflationary money. They'll think, boy, I really want to hit 100,000 sats this month. How can I possibly do it? They'll look at the competition. They'll see, oh, this company is making tennis balls, and that one over there is making toilet paper, and this one over here is making harmonicas. What can I do? What can I produce that is of good quality, good value, that somebody will actually part with 100,000 sats and give them to me? Maybe I'll write a song. Boy, it's going to have to be a really good song to entice 1,000 people to each give me 100 sats apiece. Maybe I can do that. What kind of song will I make? Well, I can't just put a bunch of sound together and throw it into a track and hit export. That's not going to work. This is going to be a little bit more complicated than putting out the next piece of garbage on SoundCloud and hoping it hits it big because I just nailed the algorithm right that day. If you're a parts manufacturer for cars, for example, you're going to have to come up with a design that is better than the competition. You're going to have to research the competition, and you're going to have to prove to people that your part is better than the competition's, as opposed to something that they throw out at the beginning of the next season and get the latest color because that's what makes money these days. Right now, we live in a world where the strategy is often try a bunch of stuff, throw it against the wall, and see what sticks. With Bitcoin, we know what sticks. Bitcoin has been here for the last 13 odd years and it's working. So that sticks and people will stick things to that. As for number 2, bad guys want their stuff to stick as well. And sadly, it probably will in some way. The takeaway that I have for you is that even though we don't know what's going to happen next week or next year, what we do know is that investing in ourselves always pays off. So take what you can from this, invest in yourself, learn a new skill, and then give back to the community.